Hello and welcome to the Weekly Reel podcast. My name is Ken,
And my name is Jeremy.
and this week we're covering the next installment of the Quiet Place franchise with the Quiet Place Day One.
This is an ASMR of the Weekly Reel podcast.
Oh man!
It gets weird
Anyway,
all of a sudden.
to repeat what I said, only because I literally thought of that opening literally right before I was like, "Hey Jeremy, let me just try something real quick." Just in case you didn't catch that, we're covering the next installment of the Quiet Place franchise with A Quiet Place Day One. But Jeremy, how's it going?
I don't know, man. It's pretty hot, and I don't know that became all of a sudden very uncomfortable for me and the listeners. I'm like, oh, let's roll with it.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. But yes, today, we get to talk about A Quiet Place. I completely forgot that we actually covered the second installment back in 2021.
Yeah, man. It's been a while. I honestly don't remember too much of the second one,
Yeah.
to be quite frank. I really like the first one. I don't find the second one memorable.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was basically because we just followed the Abbott family, post what happens at the end of the first one. I won't spoil the first installment, but then really the big revelation is we meet the same one of the characters, I should say, one of the leaders of the characters in the second one. I'm not sure if you remember. We meet Henry,
I
played
remember that
by
he was in it. I don't even remember what happens.
yeah. Well, I think it was a good movie. It was just like you said, I think it wasn't as memorable as the first one. The first one still gets me every time. I think that's still one of the best movies. And we may bring that up in part 2 of our live stream because yes, Jeremy, we are on a YouTube live stream right now. Jeremy, how long have we been doing this?
Dude, we've been doing the live stream now, since April? All of season 7. It's been fun to actually do everything live, no cuts, no anything like that. And when people comment, we can respond to them right away. So if you're here in the comment section right now, let us know that you're here. But also, you get to see us in video, so you get to see how much we're sweating behind the microphone right now. It's pretty hot in this summertime now.
Yeah. We say that it's hot, but compared to everywhere else, it's actually pretty cold. It only hit the low 80s today, but for us, pampered people in the San Francisco area, this is way too hot. And I don't know, I got my fan going. Hopefully you don't really hear it too badly in the microphone. But yes, join us on YouTube Live right now. Let us know that you're here. And if you have any questions, we will address that. We'll set aside time to do so, or in between thoughts, we always kind of find our way to comment or answer questions, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that we've integrated this live stream. It's just added this whole new dimension. But you know what? Let's get right into the movie that we are here for. So let's issue that spoiler warning. From here on out, we will be talking about particulars from A Quiet Place Day One, the plot, the characters, and everything. And so if you do not want to get spoiled, just bookmark this video or podcast episode, what have you. Hit pause, check out the movie. It's out now in theaters, and then come back. And then, you know what? If you want to comment later, both Jeremy and I have notifications on. So we'll go ahead and always answer or address your questions or comments afterwards, even after this live stream. So for this week, we find out what happened on that fateful first day when the world went silent in the prequel to A Quiet Place with A Quiet Place Day One. So pretty straightforward tagline, I guess, name of the movie. And again, as I mentioned, it is out now in theaters. And so, guys, let's jump right into the double feature. And so, as a quick reminder, the double feature is where I have a question for Jeremy. He has no idea what I'm about to ask. And likewise, he has a question for me. I have no idea what he's going to ask. So for my half of the double feature, we're bringing back a season 2 staple, binge or cringe, but we're gonna do a binge or cringe variant, I guess. Binge or cringe, Jeremy. Pick one or the other. Highlight your bingiest. I don't know if we've ever used that that variant of the word before.
Yeah, not an adjective. We haven't
Yeah.
used it.
We haven't used that adjective before. But choose your bingiest scene of the movie, or if you do choose cringe, what would you change? Like, name the thing that is cringeworthy, but name something or name like a solution for it. How would you alter it? How would you change it?
Okay. Can I give both or just one at a
If you,
time?
hey, you know what? Go ahead and give both.
Okay. Just real quick. My binge off the top of my head is really quick. I think it's the subway scene when they're in the dark. Sam and Eric are in the dark and have their flashlights and just have to walk slowly down. Because I think if they were just getting chased, I think in maybe like a mall area or office lobby area,
Hmm.
and they run down into the subway and they have to move quietly. And just the darkness and having to slowly like move through that without making any noise, I think was smart. I think put me back into the mode of A Quiet Place 1 because everything was happening a lot at night in that
Hmm.
movie
Hmm.
compared to this movie. Everything's like happening during the day.
Right.
My cringiest thing, the thing I would probably change, just off the top of my head, bring in the character of Eric sooner.
Mm. Okay.
Um, like the character of Ruben, played by I think Nat Wolf. Yeah, the nurse at the hospice. Like you kind of get attached to him, right? Like you get like, and then he just dies, and then that's it. So it's just like,
He
I
should have died sooner.
yeah, it's like, oh, dude, what's going on? It's weirdly enough, I was like, is that the same actor that played the son in Hereditary? And it was.
Oh,
It's
was
like,
it? Oh,
right,
shoot.
right. Because he has like a full on beard and everything. I was like, I wonder if Ken will notice.
Dang it, you're right. I'm looking at his headshot on IMDb.
Right? He looks so different in this movie. Um, but
Good
I
call.
feel like if they brought in the character of Eric sooner, we could spend a little bit more time with them
Hmm.
together. Because I know once they meet up, they're like pretty much inseparable, but to maybe the chagrin of the character of Sam. But I feel like that would allow the movie to have more time to develop the characters, which I feel
Mm.
like the characters, the biggest complaint about this movie for me is probably the characters feel kind of one dimensional.
Yeah, I could see that because yeah, I mean, we there's only so much time in a 1 hour 40 minute runtime that you can kind of invest in, right? And to your point, we didn't get to meet Eric until what halfway through. So really, whatever half of an hour and 40 is, what is that? 100 minutes? So 50 minutes in.
Yeah, basically, right? And because the credits and all that stuff. But like, um, especially considering that, you know, spoilers are here, that he's the survivor and stuff. I kind of felt like that she was gonna die because we,
Mm.
we knew from the beginning she had cancer and all that stuff, and she's gonna just go get pizza. So this is like her last hurrah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I wasn't about to go die, but when me and Jeremy went to New York with the other family, I was like, I felt, man, I'm running, my blood sugar's running a little low. I need pizza.
Pizza, right? I mean, and out of all the places though, it has to be New York pizza, right?
I don't,
Like I wouldn't go for anything else if it
I
was
don't
my
blame her.
last.
I don't blame her. You know what? We need to hit up Harlem. Does that place exist? I don't even know.
Patsy's.
Yeah. Let's see what all the
Um,
fuss is
but
all
yeah,
about.
I really wish they just majority of the time, we don't really get to know her before She's
Hmm.
kind of obviously like we get more of her backstory in that third act
Yeah,
reveal type of thing.
yeah.
And with Eric, you could see he's that friendly kind of guy. We compared him to James McAvoy.
Or a
um,
young Tony Stark in the barf, like hologram thing from the beginning of Civil War.
exactly. But he's more of that guy that you could kind of, he's the everyday kind of guy, but
Mm,
he's very much like panicked in this situation because feels like he has stuff to lose, whereas she doesn't. And that's kind of like the extent of their characters. It's like, oh,
I may have missed it. What was Eric's occupation?
I don't. I think he was going in for like an interview for like a
Okay,
law office, law
yeah.
firm.
I think I missed it. So yeah, yeah, I could see that then. He's not definitely not. He doesn't strike me as an alpha male. We'll just say like someone that kind of goes out of his way. It's like, oh, I'm gonna try to you know use my ego.
Yeah, at first I thought they were gonna give like a little bit of backstory on why he's always like jittery,
Mm.
especially when we first meet him. Right, he almost like drowned in the subway,
Yes,
and I
yes.
thought we are gonna get like a flashback or remember when they were swimming through the basically the sewers or subway. Man, that place must have stank, by the way, but because it
Yeah,
already stinks without any water.
yeah. New York be musty, especially in the summer.
Oh hell yeah! But I thought he was like one of those like, oh, he's afraid of water and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
that would make sense that he would get like elevated anxiety while the monster's trying to. But I'm like, okay, never mind. He's just scared all the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm like, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. You know what? I can't argue with any of your thoughts because related to your cringe actually in terms of not being able to spend enough time with the whole Eric and Sam dynamic. Um, like because they introduced them so late. Actually, the bingiest the bingiest part of this movie, one of the I guess more underrated scenes was the whole, everything that Eric did. He went out of his way to fulfill Sam's like basically last dying wish, in this very apocalyptic event, where obviously she's going through cancer. It seems terminal, and he went out of his way to do some sort of what magic card show or whatever. They did a performance of which kind of invoked her dad, and then obviously the whole pizza. Even though Patsy's was all like torn to pieces or whatever, just it was a disappointment at first, and then he went out of his way to still find a pretty good looking pizza. Yeah, it was cold. I mean, but
And
what are you
dollar
gonna do?
pizza.
Yeah, dollar pizza. Hey, it's a look pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, oh shoot, we know how good dollar pizza is.
Yeah, and then he just went out of his way, grabbed a Sharpie, put Patsy's on it. I was like, oh man, I like it. It's the little things, that
Hmm.
we as humans, we kind of relate to these like little moments, and that's I think one of my favorites. And I felt like we could have used more of that because I feel like that's where we kind of have that connectivity with characters, especially when they are going through a traumatic event.
Yeah, I think that's what also made the first one so good is the family dynamic. And that's what makes them relatable is
Yes.
that everyone's role was clearly established
Hmm.
and but they're like still dealing with problems that you would see even like in real life.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
what makes them relatable. That's how you connect. And so yeah, if they dug deeper into that stuff with Eric and Sam, I think that would made the movie stronger.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just the smaller moments like that. It's like okay, rather than just the surface level stuff.
Yeah. Because I'll be honest with you, prior to all that stuff, I was like, oh, man, I'm starting to get long blinks. Some of the jump scares, because I was starting to get a little tired, didn't even bother scaring
Yeah.
me. I was like numb to it. Um, I was losing faith in this movie, and some of that stuff. it kind of pulled me back in, and I was like, oh, okay, good. And I feel like that's a true test of being a binge worthy moment or scene. You know what I mean? As far as the cringe side of this binge or cringe variant, actually, the thing that I would change actually is it's more of a overall franchise deal,
Mm.
and meaning, here's how I would actually release the order of movies. Obviously, Quiet Place, perfect. Don't change a thing. I love that movie. They should have released this movie right after, like maybe a
Mm.
couple of years after, maybe in 2020, 2020. Maybe it kind of hit a little too close to the the bullseye, considering we were in a pandemic. Because I think it was supposed to come out in 2020, and then the pandemic delayed it to 2021. So I don't know if that's they why they released it then, but I would have released day one then, and then maybe had some connective tissue, maybe with a side character from the first one or something. I don't know. Figure it out. Um, and then I would have done A Quiet Place 2 to follow up on the Abbott family years later. That way, it's not just, hey, what happens after the events of A Quiet Place. We get to see like kind of a time jump, and you see the kids a little bit older, and you kind of see what their dynamic is and how the world is different now compared to what it was. Because A Quiet Place 2 literally just takes place, it seemed like just not too long after
Yeah.
the first one.
Right. Yeah. She just has the baby. Now she's carrying around the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would have been cool if they didn't actually figure out more of a solution to kill these death angels um until like later. They should have just been completely slaughtered, and then everyone's like living underground or just in some bunkers, or it's just super apocalyptic.
Yeah, man. Which actually goes perfectly, not well, not perfectly into my question. My double feature question is this specifically. Is A Quiet Place day one.
Mhm.
The story that we got, or where the perspective and the focal point of the movie is, we go from the perspective of Sam, a hospice patient that is basically living out her last day on this day,
Yeah.
right? And her motivation to end the day is like go through the nostalgia about her dad, get pizza, and all that stuff. I don't know if that worked for me in terms of that. Like that's in terms of holding my attention the entire movie. It's like, oh, is that all we're gonna get? Is there gonna be more in terms
Mhm.
of like a bigger scope of this movie? I thought we were gonna get something even larger in scale compared to the first
kind of
two.
kind of like a Civil War type scale.
Right, right. So we get to, well, I don't want to say spoil anything, what I'm going to say, but
Sorry.
but if you were to kind of take your perspective, or what would you want to see? What perspective would you want to see from like day one in this universe? Because I feel like the day one perspective that they chose was not
It
the
was too
best
small
one. It was
scoped.
too small. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just to comment on what you said, and I actually agree with you. I agree with you in that I feel like one of a that type of story will only work if you're seeing it through the lenses of characters that you've already invested. I will use episode 3 of The Last of Us as an example. Remember Bill and Frank, they had
Yeah.
their last day, but that was after like it was like near obviously a whole episode dedicated to just this little side mission or side episode that
Yep.
and we basically got to see them meet, we got to see them live. We got to see them kind of go through some of the obstacles that they had to deal with living together. And then, stuff happens. And then, we see how their last day kind of went. Minor spoiler for The Last of Us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like that hit us because we got to invest that time in. Now, to answer your question, because I think the reason why it really didn't work for maybe everyone, including yourself, it probably worked a little bit more on me than it sounds like you. But yeah, I would look at this from a completely different way. I alluded to a civil war earlier, but I feel like it could have it would have been more effective coming from like a big country. Like, holy crap, we're in the United States. We're seeing this coming through. Obviously, I feel like every apocalyptic event happens in New York. Cliche,
Mm.
whatever. And but then to be able to see how we as a government and society deal with this deadly threat of the Death Angels, I would have loved to see that. Yeah, even though we've seen that in like what, I mean, it's almost 4th of July. It's 3rd of July, Independence Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like we could have seen some sort of hybrid, and maybe the runtime could have been a little bit longer. That way, we could kind of go back and forth between larger scale and smaller scale. I think that probably would work a little bit better for me too.
Dude, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because the two movies I thought of that they should have kind of emulated in a way in terms of, like you said, smaller scale, bigger scale. I Am Legend
Ooh, okay.
and the first, oh, not first, the 2014 Godzilla with Aaron Taylor
Mm,
Johnson. And because in that movie, they kind of followed his perspective from like the military, and then Elizabeth Olsen's character kind of in like in the city and all that stuff. I feel like those kind of like scales, I feel like would have worked in this movie. I going into the movie, I want to see like you said, how the government reacts. I want to see how the people, honestly, dude, how did they figure out that it's only sound like that they can hear? Like that was my biggest complaint. Like
yeah.
people figured it out even before the title screen happened.
No,
It's
no,
like,
but well, no. The pet peeve for me is they figured it out while Sam was knocked out or whatever.
oh
Remember what
yes,
you know what I
right,
mean? Because like she closes her eyes, and all of a sudden everyone's quiet. I'm like, how did they figure it out? How did they figure it out?
right,
And that's something that day one should be able to at least reveal how they figured it out. That should have
right.
been like at least 30 minutes.
At least 30 minutes, maybe halfway through the movie. Because imagine day one being your first Quiet Place movie,
Yeah,
and they're not scared anymore after that.
yeah.
You know what
Oh,
I mean?
sorry. I meant not 30 minutes in. I meant it should have taken 30 minutes of runtime for them to actually try to figure out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and they should have failed like multiple times.
Right. They just like got it right away. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what the heck? And yeah, they figure out how to kill, what are they called? Death Angels?
Death ain't. Yeah, I had to look it up. I didn't.
In the
The
first
first two
Quiet Place.
movies, I didn't even know what they were called. I only know it in this one.
I just call them Demogorgons.
I know. I think that's what we did in A Quiet Place too. I think we called them Demogorgons.
Shoot. But
Oh,
that
shoot.
was probably like my biggest complaint also in terms of building suspense in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
is that how do these characters know, like us, the audience who have seen the first two movies, how these creatures react?
Mm-hmm.
They should have been like so confused. And the fact, dude, remember the scene? Both of us were like, these people are stupid when they're all just walking on the street, on down the street, and they're all just walking in huge hordes of humans. And see, that would make sense if they didn't know that it's sound that triggers even like the slightest rip in Ruben's clothing, remember?
Yeah.
Was able to trigger a freaking Demogorgon out of nowhere. And the fact that they start all walking in hordes, at least be separated. Social distancing was, you know, probably effective in that situation.
Well, there was also a couple of things. Like, how did they figure out being near, like constant noise? How did they know that that was not going to affect it? You know what I mean? Because, I would imagine that, if their theory, you're thinking about it, and you're experiencing for this for the first time, and you're thinking that, oh, eventually giving them the benefit of the doubt that noise is what they attack. Why would you hang out like near like a fountain or whatever where there's like hella noise? Like, how do they
Right.
figure that out? Because
Right.
yeah, I know I can see like from an outsider's perspective, a moviegoer's perspective, how the sound can kind of drown out like thing. They may have gone there and they're like, oh, what is this? It's constant. But how do they figure it out? They
Yeah.
just
See.
they just ended up just being in the middle of that little water shield or whatever. I don't know.
Right. There's like this whole time where Sam is passed out that they could have shown in the movie. Like trial and error throughout the entire movie. That's what makes things like scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
For our characters, is the trial and error trying to figure things out.
Right.
Who
And
is
we're
gonna
in the
live? Who's
know,
gonna
and they'd
die?
be like, oh, this guy's going to be screwed. And oh, sometimes we need to see that.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's like when Ruben was gonna turn off the generator. It's like, oh, he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah, no. I know. There should have been more of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was some of my gripes. Also, at the end, when Sam makes a distraction for Eric to run down the pier and get to the boat,
Mm.
how did she escape? I know it led to a cool ending with her iPod and the
Boombox.
stereo,
Stereo, yeah.
but how did she escape? And if all of those creatures were just running towards her, I
Yeah,
know
especially
that.
with someone who has terminal cancer.
Yeah,
It's a little.
exactly. It's like, how can she keep up? Like, how can she run away? So I thought she was gonna sacrifice herself, John Krasinski style,
Yeah. That should
right?
have been better.
Dude, that moment got me so emotional in the first one
Yeah.
because there's so much emotion behind it. With this one, it's like, oh, I thought she was gonna face the same like kind of slow motion
Mhm.
as the creatures go. You don't have to show it or anything, but it's like, oh,
You know what would have been
she
better
survived.
and more realistic if she would have snuck in or whatever and then just had a bunch of stuff where she's like tossing stuff from a distance. That way, she's not having to run or whatever, but then she's still creating a diversion for Eric to get to the boat.
Right. Because she started just throwing like at random cars and all that
But
stuff.
she was at the no, she was at the
She
ground level. She should
right.
have been like perched up somewhere where she was kind of at a safe distance because then you're not really making noise tossing stuff away from you, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like they're coming towards you because they're just chasing sound. So if you, in theory, are like on at a higher level, you come to an understanding, you give the signal,
Yeah.
and then
Or
just start throwing stuff. Okay, I'm gonna throw it over there. They'll go over here, and then I don't know.
she could pull a Jason Bourne and just like jump into the water and they're not gonna follow her, you
That's
know?
true. It's something.
So, I guess if you like suspend belief and all that stuff, it's just like or suspend disbelief, just her throwing stuff and then show her like hiding. Because I
Mm,
get they want us to think that oh, there's so much noise
hmm
that she was able to escape, but there was way too many creatures to not like actually like pinpoint her, and she was running.
Yeah, she was making
So
noise for sure. She should
yeah,
have. She should have died right then and there.
yeah. I
Whether
mean,
it's
we
a
got that cool
sacrifice or
ending.
not, she should have been dead.
Yeah, it was just really for the sake of the cool ending.
Yeah, with Eric and her coat and Frodo. Oh, by the way, another random nitpick. I don't know if hey, you know what. Let's go right into let's go right into dailies. The
Yep.
dailies is a segment that we introduced in season 7, and this is actually where we just start talking about random stuff from the movies. And so, real quick, I want to kick off the dailies with, I mean, just talked about Sam and Frodo, the whole Lord of the Rings connection, and Frodo the cat. I was amazed, and I wanted to ask a cat owner such as yourself. I mean, you have a
Mhm.
Lara. How realistic is it for a cat to not make noise at all through the entire runtime of a movie?
See, that was like pretty crazy too. In terms of walking and jumping, I can see that. Like they're much lighter on their feet than humans. Like at night, freaking when the lights are off, I can't hear Lara coming when she's walking down the hallway.
Right.
If my bedroom lights are on and I'm looking down the hallway and it's like freaking pitch black, she'll come out of the dark like freaking Batman. Like in freaking the beginning of the
Here.
Batman. Yeah, exactly. And I can believe that.
Yeah.
But the the parts where like the cat's not like hissing or meowing at any of these creatures is pretty crazy to me. Not
Yeah.
making any like grunts or anything that it does when it's like freaking getting whacked all over the place. I
Frodo
think
should have died in minute 3.
it should do just the fact that survived like people trampling over everybody else. I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised even freaking like Sam was able not Sam. Yeah, Sam was able to survive being trampled in a situation
Ooh.
like that. She's
Yeah,
done
she's
for, man.
frail. She's going through it.
Yeah, dude.
When
I You see worse stuff in freaking Black Friday.
exactly trampling it over those deals just for them laptops.
Yeah, man. This is the apocalypse, so she's definitely dead. So
Yeah.
yeah, both of them probably would have died in the first like encounter.
Yeah. Oh. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of kick that off. Did you have any um I guess items for the dailies?
I also don't. I didn't feel like the movie was very scary. I think the biggest jump scare I had was the most like unnecessary one, and you said it right in theaters when freaking Sam was sleeping, and then we look outside and it's like, oh, New York's perfect, and then all of a sudden we get that jump scare, and then it wakes her up. That was like the one that made me jump the most. But all the other ones, I was just like looking at it like jump scare. It's like, oh, okay, that's it.
I was like, yeah, that was not necessary.
Yeah, this the suspense was not as good. I was still like intrigued by the story
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But yeah, nothing was like I'm at the edge of my seat. Like
Yeah. The suspense
weird,
wasn't there.
weirdly to say it, like Civil War
Yes.
or Inside Out
Inside
2.
Out 2. I was waiting for it.
Those movies were scary, man. How realistic they are.
Woo. Woo. Get the sweaty palms going. Just either edging towards the edge of your seat.
Yeah, man. Trying to fit into a group of people. Scariest thing.
Oh man. Was there anything else in the dailies?
I did I did like the cat though.
Yeah, I did too. I did too.
I didn't want the cat to die.
Yeah. I
But it
didn't either.
became a little crazy. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I know this is like the cat's cool and all,
Mhm.
but this is like a super cat, you know? Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get more of what's his name again? No, not Eric.
Ruben.
Henry. I thought
Oh
we were
yeah.
gonna get
Oh yeah.
Henry. Because obviously he was kind of featured. He was obviously the one that kind of gets told Sam to kind of be quiet or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is how we get to see his backstory, leading up to like him being on that island colony or whatever in the second one, I should say. And so it seemed like he could have been some sort of one of the leaders, and I needed to see more of that. So I felt like that was a little bit weird in that he ended up being another side character. He he's been in 2 movies and he's just been a side. He barely has any screen time in any of them. I feel like he's a good actor.
Yeah, just give him something to do, guys. I mean, he kills a guy on screen.
Yeah,
Which that guy died really easily. I was like,
yeah,
holy crap. I thought they
yeah,
were gonna show like a little metal pipe sticking out or something. They
yeah.
killed him on accident.
You
But
know what could have been even better also playing screenwriter. We could have probably seen like cutaways to both storylines. We get to see Henry kind of dealing with what he's dealing with, and then maybe at the end That's how they end up on the boat. It's part of a grand plan. I felt
Yeah.
like that boat was just a little convenient, and it just gave us I guess, a reason to do slow motion.
And exactly. And wasn't it convenient, or not really convenient, but kind of dumb how the boats would be making their horns?
Yeah,
Like, how would you not? How would you escape that? They're like just leaving the dock, and then the freaking boat's like, I'm like, dude, I thought everyone knows. I like you're not following your rules and that you're setting in this movie.
well, how do they know that the Death Angels can't swim?
I mean, we we know because they drowned in the subway. I don't know how everyone else knows that.
Yeah, I mean, but that was like, how many people were there?
Exactly, two and a cat. And then it's convenient that they climb up and they're in the church. There's
Yeah.
just this giant hole in the ground,
Oh,
like,
dude.
and no one else is helping them out of the hole.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, what? Because this is all supposed to happen within a span of 1 day, right?
Yeah,
So they figured out a lot of stuff in day one.
seriously, dude. They shouldn't have figured out a lot of stuff in like a long time.
Yeah. Um.
Because like what it's almost like they're treating like they have time to freaking examine and watch these creatures. Where in day one they should just be running for their lives. You know
I
what I
know.
mean?
Just scream it at the top of their lungs, the
Right.
highest pitch.
It's like that should be everybody, dude. Everyone should be getting freaking massacred in this movie.
Oh, I know. I think that would have played much more realistic, I think. And again, we could have seen a little bit more larger scale military attacks. I think the closest we got was a Dark Knight Rises callback that I pointed out during the movie where they blew up the bridges to
Yeah.
get to Manhattan.
I was almost gonna pull the Joseph Gordon-Levitt in Dark Knight Rises. You killed us. You killed us, you sons of bitches. When I rewatch Dark Knight Rises, I crack up every time.
Who's gonna? Well, what do they do when it's like, who's gonna watch this? You are.
Freaking A.
Were there any random other callbacks in the movie besides Dark Knight Rises? What else did we? Well, what else were we calling out?
Oh man. I feel like dude the main actor actress
Lupita
Lu- yeah,
Nyong'o.
she was in Us, right?
She was in Us.
Yeah, so sometimes when she's just staring just like blankly and scared, it reminded me of Us.
Oh yeah, she looked definitely different than she did. I think the last movie that I saw her in was Wakanda Forever,
Yeah.
and I mean, obviously minor spoiler, she wasn't in it for very much screen time, but she looked so much different. She
Yeah.
definitely went out of her way to, I think, lose weight to become to look more like a terminal cancer patient. So I don't know. I feel like anything that she's done a really good job in. She's a really good actress, I think.
Yeah, she's really good. It's just like the writing for her character could have been more.
Yeah.
Like that goes all around to like all the characters really. They're all played really well. It's just I don't know. Smaller scale. Then and even then, like smaller scale should be able to focus more on developing characters, but they didn't do that.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, that segment was the dailies. Obviously, we brought that on for season 7. We also brought in this segment for season 7. This segment is called The Real Review, where we give our spoiler free review of the movie that we're covering. And this week, again, we are talking about A Quiet Place Day 1. So, Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and give us your real review?
Okay, so A Quiet Place Day 1, right off the bat, I want to say it's the it's the worst one out of the bunch, out of the franchise. It's I didn't hate it. I still liked it enough that I didn't like have long blinks or anything like that in this movie. But the scares are not there. There's some cheap jump scares in there that were pretty unnecessary, but kind of expected in a movie like this. And it's not directed by John Krasinski. I feel like the perspective that the movie took was a little like kind of short-sighted in this movie. I want to see bigger things happening on day one of A Quiet Place. We're following more characters, or should be on a larger scale, should be scarier, louder in this case. But we don't get that in this movie. We get kind of more service level characters, in my opinion. Still played really well by all the actors, but unfortunately, we only get to see the surface and then the movie ends. So I am giving A Quiet Place Day One a 20 out of. Oh, wait, sorry, 20. 2040. This isn't Fast and Furious. I'm giving it a 2040 out of 3,000, a 68%.
You'll understand why I'm laughing in a second. Wow, seems like we watched the same movie. Damn it. I'm gonna have to collect myself here on this live stream. Holy crap. I'm going to but yeah, for those on the live stream, whew, got the giggles all of a sudden. You'll see why. For my real review, it seems like we did watch the same movie. Because was A Quiet Place Day One a worthy installment in the Quiet Place franchise? I think so. Was A Quiet Place Day One as good as the first two installments? In my opinion, definitely not. And it's not to say I didn't like the film. I wish this film gave us more insight into the beginning struggles to learn about the Death Angels. Unless I missed something, I don't think I caught the revelation of how society found out that the Death Angels hunt by sound. In a franchise that revolutionized the suspense genre with using silence as the main use of sound design, I was disappointed there wasn't anything new that was brought to the table. In my opinion, the premise was starting to get a little stale. That being said, I did enjoy the new main characters of Sam, played by Lupita Nyong'o, and Eric, played by Joseph Quinn. It was nice seeing Henry, who is played by Jamon Hunzu. Hopefully I didn't butcher his name, to connect the previous film to this current film. My pulse was still pounding throughout this film, just not to the same degree as the first two films. So on the I Love You 3000 scale, this may sound familiar. I'm giving it a 2040 out of 3000, which is a 68%.
Dang. Sounds like we watched the same movie, man. I think it's also because I want to mention this on the live stream that when we sat down in our seats, apparently, there's reserved seating in our theater and all that stuff. We sat next to a guy by himself, which is fine sitting there, but he didn't have his shoes on. And then he doesn't have his shoes on, props his feet up on the chair in front of him. Luckily, there's no one sitting like in front of us. But I'm like, dude, this is weird. I'm like, I really hope this guy doesn't have stinky feet. But that would be super distracting during the movie. But luckily, Ken, you said, well, let's move down at least a seat.
And yeah, to add to what you were just saying, the weird part was when I bought the tickets for that row, we were the first two on that row. Obviously, we're the first two, right in the middle. Right in the middle. Middle row, middle of the thing. So we have optimal sound and everything. That guy decides to literally pick the seat right next to Jeremy. And literally, I think there was only maybe one group to our left all the way down the aisle. And there may have been other people like towards the aisle on the right side, but he literally decides not even a one seat buffer. He decides to sit next to Jeremy. He wanted to third wheel our little date.
Yeah, dude, it's like if anything, like he should move over to like his right to give a 1 seat buffer. If
Bro.
you want to keep your feet up and all that stuff, man, it's like give some people some space real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, but so as soon as the movie started rolling, I was like, there's no one to the left. All right. Jeremy, let's move over.
Because honestly, they were good seats. That was a good
Yeah.
choice. Got to remember that for next time.
Yeah.
But
Row
but
G and IMAX.
Row G and
Optimal.
IMAX,
Row G.
just not next to the guy with no shoes.
Yes. Or not too late of a showing where, well, Jeremy still has to finish an optimal screening of Oppenheimer. I feel like I still think you'll like it more if he wasn't so distracted.
That was a weird,
Oh, man.
weird experience.
Well, anyway, in terms of watching the same movie, I wonder if this will translate to this next segment. This is now where we guess the Rotten Tomato score. Jeremy, if my memory serves me right, this is our fourth to last episode. I think we only have next week's, then the Glenn Powell movie, then the Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yep.
So there's only 4 points left up for grabs. And
Including today.
yes, including
Yep.
today, 4 points left. And our current score for season 7, Jeremy holds a very slim 1 point lead
Oh, shoot.
at 10-9. So worst case scenario, I hope we tie. Just I just can't lose this week. I feel like. And
Oh,
honestly, I had a tough time guessing this movie. So Jeremy, do you want to reveal what your guess for A Quiet Place Day 1 is?
yes. I am guessing at 83%.
Ooh. I'm kind of glad that I gave it a higher score, well, than my original guess at the theater, because I was like, I don't know, I feel like critics might like this movie a little bit more than my initial guess. Initially, I was thinking 73, but I ultimately settled on 78.
78.
Yeah. So that's my final guess is 78%.
I like how both of us were like, yeah, the critics liked it more than us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
All right, here we go. A Quiet Place Day 1 gets
Oh!
87%.
Too high. Why?
But look at that audience score.
See?
He knows the audience.
Yeah. Actually, with we were a little harsher than the audience, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of evens out, probably.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jeremy takes a very pivotal point with now 3 movies left. Essentially, I have to sweep to win outright because Jeremy's now up 11-9. Will I hit a game-winning 3 to win season 7? It's gonna be a tall task, because I'm not a I'm not a 3-point shooter right now. But yeah, crazy things have happened. Like last season, where we went literally down to the season finale.
Yeah, dude, that was insane. This whole season's been insane in terms of guess the Rotten Tomatoes score for sure.
Yes. But yes, 11-9, Jeremy's up, heading into next week. And yes, we are back next week. So, Jeremy, what are we covering?
Well, someone is also back, and his name is Axel Foley, and he's returning to Beverly Hills. I don't want to say too much now because I read the the IMDb, and now I don't know if they're like I'm in the middle of my rewatch.
Wait,
not rewatch. I am starting the first movie. I'm almost done with the first movie, but
Nice.
we are watching Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F next week. And I don't want to say too much just in case, I don't want to spoil it for Ken, but I did read the premise on IMDb. Now I don't want to say it.
I have it up. I haven't read it yet though.
Yeah, don't
But
read it.
yeah, but I did see that JGL's in this movie. I'm like, oh, because I haven't seen any of the anything on this one actually.
Yeah, I saw that JGL and speaking of JGL from before, but also Kevin Bacon's in it. So
Yeah, I saw
I'm
that too.
excited. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the. I'll at least watch the first two
Yeah. Oh
first.
no, and you know the third one's actually pretty good too.
See,
It's
I've heard
entertaining.
mixed things.
No, I think you'll enjoy it. I think you will. I actually enjoy the third one.
Yeah,
Yes,
I don't know if I have time to watch
yeah, no,
three before the new one, but we'll see.
yeah. You know what? I'm a little
I'll see how
behind.
I feel.
I wasn't really forward thinking. I should probably start watching these two. I remember watching the third one because I've seen all the previous three, but the third one I remember seeing at a young age. And fun fact, I think I told Jeremy this during our off-season scheduling session. They filmed the third Beverly Hills Cop, I want to say, at nearby Great America.
Oh, really? Because I did hear it did take place at a theme park.
And it's Great America. That's why I
Oh,
feel like there's your connective tissue to the Bay Area, man.
what year was the third one? Do you
Oh,
know?
that's a good question. Let me go check. I have it up. Okay. Beverly Hills Cop
It
movie.
was
94.
Yep, 94.
Yeah, so I watched this right. I don't know if I watched it right when it came out, but I was still in high school when it came out. And back then, there wasn't really much to do when you're in high school. So Great America was it. And I remember when it was broadcast, local TV or whatever. They're like, oh yeah. And then there are certain scenes within Beverly Hills Cop that you're like, oh yeah, if you're really familiar with Great America, you're like, oh yeah, for sure, this is Great America.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. I'll
Yeah,
I'll see how I feel about the
the
first
first two.
one, second
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
If memory serves me right, they called the theme park Wonder World.
Wonder World. Okay.
I hope I'm right. Don't criticize me. It's again been decades since I've seen the movie, but I remember thinking it was freaking hilarious. But that could have been just my sophomoric humor back in high school. That hasn't changed.
No. Probably not.
Oh man. But anyway, Jeremy, I mean, again, we mentioned at the top of this episode, we're on this new platform, brand new platform called what is this called? YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, we're on the YouTube right now. We're on the YouTube live. Um yes, at not at, but Weekly Real Podcast. That's what we're called. I don't know why I said it like that. Weekly Real Podcast on YouTube. Go check it out there. Leave us a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell notifications to stay up to date. What's going on for next week? We're gonna watch Beverly Hills Cop. I don't know why is that so hard to say. Beverly Hills Cop.
It's because you weren't born in the 80s.
Yeah, I guess not. But besides YouTube or on YouTube, make sure that you hit all that stuff to make sure you don't miss another episode.
Yeah, hit that bell for new episodes and also notifications on when our live streams happen. Again, a week from today, July 10th at around 7:30. Usually it's around that time. So,
Pacific
I
Standard Time. So I also
yes.
checked our demographics. A lot of people watch on the East Coast.
Oh shoot. Like is John Kempe in the East Coast?
Shoot, maybe. No, I think he's in LA, like
Oh, okay.
Burbank or something.
He's one of the few in the West.
Yeah. We know you're watching.
What's up, John? Oh man. Well, anyway, also check us out at Weekly Reel on Instagram. This is where we post basically links to obviously our YouTube episodes, the live stream, the audio podcast, both on usually Apple and Spotify. Those are the two main ones. But again, we're available on most, if not all, the major podcast apps. So follow us there for news and short clips from the live stream, Instagram at Weekly Reel. And also follow us on TikTok at Weekly Reel Pod. That's where we like to put some of our short form, I guess, videos on there. We put our real reviews on there, as well as our edited, flashy soup du jour stuff that we always do in part two. So, part two, we are talking about dystopian films. So, follow our TikTok at Weekly Real Pod to see what will be on our top 5. Right? We're doing a top 5.
Yeah, we're doing top 5 dystopian films, so make sure you have that list ready. I'm
Yes.
curious on what you're gonna bring, Ken, because I don't know if they're all out of like left field. I don't know what's some, we'll see.
I was tempted to add some stuff out of left field. We'll reveal that probably in the simmer, which happens within part 2. But yeah, definitely stay tuned. For those of you that are on the live stream right now, stay tuned for part 2. We will be talking about dystopian films again in our Soup du Jour episode. Also, check out last week's episode on, we did Inside Out 2, episode 124. And we also talked about a lot about Pixar films. So we did a few soup du jours. I have been on snack. It's been a busy week, so I hope to get some of those episodes out within the next few days. Tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday are the days that I hope to get them all out. So a lot of editing on, I guess, on my radar. But yeah, definitely check that out. Also, as Jeremy mentioned, next week we will be talking about Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. It is actually out today on Netflix. So watch it now. We are not sponsored by Netflix, but Netflix, let us know. We're always listening and waiting. But yeah, watch Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F on Netflix for next week's live stream, which will be a week from today on July 10th. And so again, if you're on the live stream, stay tuned for part 2. But for everyone else, we'll see you next week on The Reel.